We here again at Your Eyes and Ears Don't Lie. And the divide that I'm seeing in society and refusal to take any kind of accountability and responsibility for anything right now is outrageous. Like, all I'm hearing is everyone talking about, we didn't vote for this. Yeah, you did. You absolutely did. Now, it may be affecting people you didn't think it would affect, but overall, y'all voted for all of this. He talked about what he was going to do. You put a criminal in charge of enforcing laws, and that's basically what you did. You put a criminal to enforce laws, to uphold the Constitution and the letter of law. What'd you expect to happen? You're not going to let inmates at ADX Florence take over and be in charge, are you? But you did with the country. This man is an evil, horrible person. He's a criminal. He's a racist. And he told you what he was going to do. And right now, there's a huge divide, because basically anyone who sees that this is not acceptable and inappropriate and illegal to deploy National Guard without the governor's request and send Marines into U.S. soil, they got to say you're for illegal immigration. You support criminals. No, we don't. We just know the difference between right and wrong. And I think the majority of the population, we don't support illegal immigration, but we do support a pathway to citizenship, due process, deportations under humane actions, not sicken the military on civilians, not sicken the National Guard on civilians who were protesting peacefully. And granted, everybody's not peaceful, but the LAPD and the Los Angeles County Sheriffs had that under control. It got worse, and the violence that they're talking about and that you're seeing, that picked up after you dispatched the National Guard. Because these are not peacekeeping forces. These are not people that are trained to deal with peaceful protesters. You got a lot of angry National Guardists that, honestly, MAGA has infiltrated all levels of the government. So you got a lot of them that feel exactly like Trump and are happy to be out there roughing people up, shooting Australian reporters with rubber bullets, doing all kinds of craziness. And that ain't all of them. I'm not going to label you all, because there's some of y'all that hate what you've been ordered to do. But you're out there trying to do it right, humanely, and with pride. But for what I'm seeing out there in the way you're detaining media people who have every right to be there if they're peacefully reporting on it, the way you're detaining people who are unarmed, not creating any kind of scene other than the presence and their voice. You guys out there throwing flashbangs, and you're bringing the violence. So there's a response of violence from some of the protesters. And then you also got a lot of people that are out there that, unfortunately, you're not out there for a cause. You're out there to cause trouble. And like I've always said, I don't believe protesting work. Because the people in authoritative positions, they don't care. They may just get annoyed by it, but you don't make a difference until you affect their pockets. That's the only thing these people care about is money. Money and power. And in this country, money is power. Money gives you the voice to be heard, to control things, to make people bend the knee. So I'm all for freedom of speech and your right to protest peacefully in a non-destructive manner. But the powers that be don't respond in that same kindness and likeness. They respond with force when they get annoyed. Just listen to what he's saying about anyone that's going to protest for his birthday party / military parade, which in itself is ridiculous. You a draft dodger. You a coward and a draft dodger. And you got this Kim Jong-un type celebration that you're going to put together to pump you up, to make you feel like a big man. The nerve of people to call him a patriot and for him to say he a patriot. What's patriotic about draft dodging? Not a damn thing. A multiple time draft dodger. You come from a family of a long line of draft dodgers. But if there's any protest, they'll be met with extreme force. But a lot of y'all say y'all voted for Trump because he protects free speech, right? And I can't help but, like, this whole thing that's going on in Los Angeles, I'm not comparing everything because we talk about apples and oranges, but it makes me think of that movie, The Siege, with Denzel Washington, Annette Bening, and Bruce Willis. Makes me think about that. And of course, this isn't the result of a terrorist attack or anything. And that movie was a fictional movie. But what happened? They appointed a racist, sadistic, madman, General William Devereaux, which was Bruce Willis's character, and initiated martial law. And this dude was doing horrible stuff. Trump is General William Devereaux. That's Trump. And you guys did it. You 77 million, you did this. You are absolutely responsible for everything wrong that he's doing because you put him there. For whatever your reasons were. Ignorance, self-hate, bigotry, greed. Y'all did it. And the immigrants who, I mean, it's a catch-22 for some of it because you say, well, if they're here not creating laws, breaking laws, and they're not criminals. Well, unfortunately, the caveat is entering the country illegally is a crime. So even if you never break the law again, when you go by that wording, it's a crime. You're a criminal. By the nature of entering the country illegally without going through the process, that's a crime. So you therefore are a criminal. But we don't look at that the same way that we look at a lot of other violent crimes and things. But in the wording of what he said and the action that occurred when you entered this country without permission and legal authorization, that makes you a criminal. So how did you guys not see this was going to happen? And they're rounding up everybody. Because the only way you can determine if somebody's illegal or not is to round them up and have an encounter. And since it doesn't require you to actually break any laws to initiate the contact, all you got to do is be brown. So if you look Latino in any way, that's justification for them to stop you, harass you. And this is not new to us in our community because we've always experienced this. Policing on us has never been fair. And granted, you got officers who are great people that do everything right. But you also got, I don't want to even acknowledge how they say there's a few bad apples. There's more than a few bad apples. And systematically, it's accepted. Because if there were consequences, let's just put it this way. The purpose of a consequence is to deter future bad behavior. You're not doing nothing to these bad cops. And when you do, it's not enough to discourage anybody else from doing it. We're still seeing violent civil rights violations and what's basically a murder. When you shoot an unarmed person without the justification for the use of deadly force, that's a murder. But they're not punished in a manner that deters future bad behavior. So, it's ridiculous. And what you're seeing now is a horrible situation. Because I believe in proper immigration, following the steps. But I also know that when it was convenient for y'all, when y'all were making money and it wasn't the politically charged thing to do, you were exploiting the hell out of these immigrants to profit off their labor for lower rates. And then now you've turned on them because orange face. Me personally, I understand that they do pay taxes on the most part. A large percentage of them work and pay taxes. And because their employers falsified I-9s that require you to make sure they have proper authorization to work in the country, taxes are taken out of their paychecks. So they're contributing billions to the economy. So that lie that they just take, there are absolutely, I'm sure there's people that are receiving government assistance that are not paying into the system. But there's American citizens that are receiving a bunch of stuff that they never paid into the system. And the only reason they're better is because they're American citizens? If you ain't contributing, you're not contributing. And I'm not talking about seniors or disabled, because God forbid, should anything ever happen to me or my family, I'd like access to a system that I've contributed to, or at least I'm a citizen and I deserve those because people before me have paid into them. But as far as contributions, there's criminals that are citizens, there's criminals that are illegal, and nobody is saying we support crime. But this misconception that all of them are coming over here to commit crime and do all this and they're a part of gangs and everything, that's not the case. Because frankly, a lot of the countries where these people come from, the U.S. has had a large contribution into why their country is in shambles. How many times have you heard that the United States buys 80% of all illegal drugs that are consumed in the world? We've went and got ourselves involved in the politics and running of governments in other places and instigated regime changes and all kinds of violence if it benefited us. Remember the Contras and trading weapons for dope? We've done that in a lot of places. We've had a contribution in the fall of a lot of countries if it benefited us. So there is some responsibility in why some of these people, not all of them, are fleeing some of their countries. But that's not an excuse. The refugee status and everything, if you follow the process, everyone should be able to come here if you follow the legal process. And if you have pending court dates and you're already in the system, unless you fail to meet those requirements and show up to court or follow Homeland instructions, you should be able to have due process and see that process through. They're arresting people at immigration court hearings. I read an article of a woman who was at her immigration court, went to the bathroom. When she came out the bathroom, they took her into custody before she could even have her case adjudicated. You arresting people and detaining them at court. So I know you think you're big and bad and that's helping, and for political reasons, the hate mongers that love to see that, they're on your side. But what you're doing is you're grossly affecting the way the justice system can function and the immigration system. Because now you're going to have people in so much fear that they're not going to show up to their court dates. They're not going to come to the courthouse to handle any legal matter. But I think that's also a plan, because if you create so much fear, they won't show up to their court dates and they'll be put on immediate removal status. So it helps you. There's a method to all this madness. These are not people that don't know what they're doing. So don't now start talking about, I didn't vote for this. You absolutely voted for this. He said everything about what he was going to do. That's one thing. He's so confident in his hate and what he believes America really stands for. He told y'all the truth about that. He lied about the economy, tariffs, and just about everything else. But as far as what he was going to do immigration-wise, oh, he told you about that. And y'all ate it up. And like I said, whether it's you racist bigots or it's some people with some self-hate, greed, or whatever. And I don't even know if greed could have been the issue, because the rich that own these businesses that are exploiting them, they want them around because you don't want to pay a fair wage for the work that's being done in the labor. So it really boils down to you hate mongers and you people with messed up self-identities and you idiots. Every time I turn around, all you seeing right now is how he tricked us. He didn't trick you. You thought you were different. You thought you were better than other Latinos. Especially when you see all these music videos dancing on your boat with these 10 by 12 Trump flags and Latinos for Trump, Cubans for Trump, Venezuelans for Trumps. 60% of the Latino community voted for Trump. And you surprised now? Get real. And then you got these farmers. Rural America overwhelmingly voted for Trump. And now you crying because you ain't got nobody to work the farms. All these agricultural places are crippled now. But yet you voted for him. Complaining about you need your immigrants back. You didn't think he was going to take your workers because you need them. Because you've acknowledged that nobody local wants to do that work. Because you ain't trying to pay him the right amount of money to be out there for 8 to 12 hours in the hot sun for $8 or $9 an hour. You ain't trying to pay them the proper wage that you should. Give them benefits. So now you mad, now you upset, now you starting to turn a little bit, but not because you have an inkling of humanity, dignity, empathy, and all the things that come with compassionate feelings for others. It's because your money is funny. You greedy, selfish, ignorant people. And don't think it's just them. If he sees the benefit of coming after you, he will. No matter who you are. Because if he can get away with this, imagine what else he can get away with. Because he's like a little toddler. If you don't teach them right and wrong early, if you don't discipline them, you give them an inch, they take a mile. And that's what he's done. He started the first time around, and you idiots put him back in office again. So I have no sympathy for anybody who voted for him, who's reaping the negative benefits for it now. It's all for those who didn't, who don't deserve this. Yes, we want immigration enforcement. Yes, we want everyone to follow the law. Even Orangeface, who apparently is above the law. And his voters who think the law only applies to other people, not him. That he's exempt from all the laws, the Constitution, and everything. So I appreciate that you guys wanted to deport everybody because you want to get all the criminals out. Well, send Trump back to Germany. He the biggest criminal out there.